Ghanaian. They ought not to. A human you can say and you can say lazy. A human in Mozambique, a human in Namibia, a human in Congolese, a human in Nigerian, a human in Ghanaian, a minor jobber, a year about because they will not do it. Because the Ghanaian will go and hire a room and rent a room, apartment, and living at an apartment. South Africans are living in ghetto, in Soweto. It is then the government now tells them that it is not the government that is not creating the jobs. That more jobs, South Africa, Brunei, or companies, you will unfair Juma, South Africa, okay. Okay. It's a better Nigerian, a better Congolese, a better Ghanaian, a better South African. Look at some foolish, I'm sorry to use the word, funny visa agreement to be a new Muye. Although South Africa needs to be Odu airport, migration man in 90 days, ultimately 90 days, on the 90th day in Roko, Togu, Rakadan, Waka, we must have been within 90 days. They didn't grant us the same thing. They are using the system. Why can't we do the same thing? So they are claiming, say, woman and Juma. That is legal. How many South African gets Oklahoma? For cantonments, South African gets Oklahoma. Find out. Oklahoma, Oklahoma paying for what the India Omuaru. Yeah, for airport. Home 90 days in this one. No, Mapi. I didn't know a South room. That's Ghana migration. How much will be? There be. Are they? Thing.
Sadi yentimi ensiano na yenya kwa ebefa so a ebeba wiye.
Answer is no. No. Nobody can solve the issue of South Africa. Any xenophobic attack unleashed all the time on innocent African citizens. These countries, namely Ghana, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Mozambique, Congo, and other African countries. All these countries, we made West South Africa today that they have a government called ANC government. Shamefully, very shamefully, the South African regime, the South African political offices under the government of ANC only used these boys to harass foreigners, to cover their inefficiencies, to cover their inabilities, to cover all the promises that all of us, you and I, hope we said, come and gather out. 1990, first black African president, 1994. Leading from 1994 to today, they have not done and operated even 5 to 10% of what the whites developed South Africa. Simply, it is their frustration they all the time use when an issue of unemployment comes there on the government. Then they go through the back line, then they go through behind and push these boys foolishly for them to unleash pressure on innocent people, including Ghanaians. Papa, anything. When Mandela was released from jail in 1990 at the age of 71 until 75 when he was in 1994 before he was the first president, the 5-year mandate, Mandela couldn't do much because at 27 years in jail. What did he do? He did his best. There was certain institutions open up. There was nothing he could have done because of the apartheid system, any racial segregation. And he needed now to infuse the administrative and the system with the blacks. And to implement a developmental project, to implement an employment issue. What about Chama of Fiwe? Or in 5-year term, 18 years, the man was tired. So he saluted South Africans. And don't forget, sir, the LW de Klerk, who ironically is one of the most peaceful presidents ever. I will break it down, abolish the apartheid. I will mean a whole backlash from the Western world, including the British, including the Hollands, including the almost Europeans and everybody. But the man wanted peace. He realized it was too much. Mandela made him a vice president against the wish of even the white supremacist parties. Or your vice president from 1994 to 96, he had 2 vice presidents with Thabo Mbeki. So when he, after 2 years, the pressure from the whites in Mono and a Jack set aside, leaving Thabo Mbeki as the main vice president, called the deputy president of South Africa. Mandela freed Thabo Mbeki. How long did it take just under 5 years. Just under 5 years now, Nandela Koya na double British regime registered the first xenophobic attack on foreigners. Who are the foreigners? The first people they were killing was Mozambicans. Baba, let me tell you. You mentioned the international, what is the name? International relations expert. No, I'm a diplomatic consultant. So we have done practical diplomacy and diplomatic history of the world. Let me tell you, when the ANC, where did they have 3 offices? They were having offices. Even in Ghana, they had a strategic hub. That's how they were calling their offices when South Africa Apartheid was chasing them. Now you have Pam Womono. They had a strategic office. In Ghana, they had a strategic office. In no country than Mozambique. And they have what is called the targeted presence in Mozambique. They had a relationship with the Frelimo movement. At that time, Frelimo was also branded like ANC, so only a terrorist. By the West, by the South African apartheid system. The same thing as Zimbabwe, ZANU-PF. They were also branded as thieves and criminals, and also what? Because of the alliance with ANC. The same thing as SWAPO, Southwest African People's Organization, Samnujuma. They were also branded as criminals and terrorists with ANC. Because these were the countries. Now, South Africa, ANC, which then before then was South African Native National Congress. It wasn't ANC, it was a stand. All these parties, established a political party that they could not keep in the Cape Town. Which country give them an official visit, official office? And in Mozambique, Frelimo, when Samora Machel became the first president of Mozambique, what happened? Because of South Africa, because of ANC. Look at what they did to the man. They assassinated him. They assassinated him when you Russians have even wanted not to step South Africa. He went there and they killed him. Because of how he allowed the ANC to have an office, strategic office. And then in 1981, when Posta Bota was there, they went to Mozambique, poor country at the time, vandalizing Maputo, they killed more than 200 people because they were looking for the South African ANC members who were holding themselves, housing themselves, also in South Africa, in Mozambique. Now, such a country, our first president, called Samora Machel, under the time of Mandela Mugum, Walter Sisulu, Oliver Tambo, Rosanna, Litoli, all these people, when they were even running around the world, because apartheid system was looking for them, like the Israeli Mossad looking for you to kill. Mozambique, South Africa, they targeted Samora Machel and asked him that they should bring them out. South Africa, the Mumbai province, mountain. After our meeting with South Africa, they killed him. And then the man Mandela, out of sympathy, the third wife, Samora Machel, Mandela Jayero, because of what Mandela he valued what Samora Machel and the Mozambique people did for South Africa. He went to marry the widow of Samora Machel, even though he was too old to be anything with the woman. So I'm marrying you to give you the confidence and the comfort which your husband gave to us. The Papaya then the Kudu said, Mozambique be a first target. What about Zimbabwe? The ZANU-PF party of Robert Mugabe and co. At that time, the Southern Rhodesia, they gave South Africa, these ANC people, a seat, an office, and also another strategic hub. What about Namibia? That time, Paul Junu and Samnujuma, they were all running around because that time Namibia was part of South African colony. And then they had the political party. So the ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe, SWAPO in Namibia, and then Frelimo in Mozambique. All this, except Zambia, Lusaka, and I know the frontline states. These are countries, South Africa, for such a xenophobic attacks, after they get their own, call it self-determination in your black president.
Okay.
Now let's talk to Ghana. Ghana, Mandela, Winnie Mandela, Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, Albert, Dube, and all those. They use Ghana passport. They were using Ghana passport to travel around.
Now, when you use South Africa passport.
Who will give them? There were 3 acts in South Africa. They have what is called the Land Act. The Land Act Ghana did not allow any black man to own a land in South Africa. 87% of the entire country, land was only for whites and then other races, Indians.
Okay.
So blacks were not allowed. And they have what is called the Group Areas Act. The Group Areas Act also has to do with racial segregation. When a group was in the Patum to Momantra, Mamon Krosumaha, passport. And then they had the Racism Act. Most of that one also, they were not allowed. They were qualified as a race. In Chubia, a woman around that time, they were described as race. They did not offer passport to him. So the ANC leaders didn't have passport. So they were traveling with Ghana passport. They were traveling with Nigeria passport. They were traveling with Mozambique passport. When Samora Machel became the president, he gave all of them passports to enable them to travel. But after Mandela them, Nasa Ghana, or volunteer, Monko GBC, Ghana, Monko Bisomse. When GBC, in the 90s, in the 70s, in the 80s, they allocated 2-3 hours for South Africa, only to play apartheid music, anti-apartheid music, war songs for the ANC. 2 hours across the African continent, Nigeria, Ghana, Benin, all the countries were just crying for them. And it was a command, I know me in only fighting for I said the voices must be heard. Why didn't you UN? Ghana was the country that went to the UN General Assembly and declared a passport to go and cause a Kuruto. Want to choose land. It was in our passport. Go and ask passport office. Ghana declared a protest, the first country in Africa, not to allow Ghanaian citizens to go there under the apartheid system. Whereas we maintain even a diplomatic relation. They were not allowing Ghanaians to go there. We didn't want to. It's a protest. And I say, you can't say a country we. I did a man Ghana for in South Africa. 75 to 80% of Ghanaians were South Africa, even including graduates from more, except for more medical fields. Oma could be a hairdresser and when he needed
70% of Ghanaians are South Africa hairdressers no more.
Oh, yeah, man, you be a hairdresser. Go to me everywhere. Almost company by then came Nigerians. The Nigerians' accusation by the South African youth of the ANC tax, any debate, Omo Mano, Alaka Fawari woman. And woman who said, you told Range Rover at the Mahoba, and only woman Niger, or your business car, South Africa man of a cocoa, yet to a $3 camera. And the Nigerian men started spending money on them. Now South Africa, you them are watching Granting Sport, or no inside the whole day, or to Soweto, or no inside the whole day. That's what they say about now, and then that. So when the Nigerians came into the system, I started to be a shops. And there shop in Nigeria put it. Phone shops. Yes, all the business of the phone shops. And Tadia, any Simon. How does that one take away from a job? I then from here, one of vandalizing Nigerians to the sense of about pregnant woman, they cut her stomach alive and put the baby and kill her. The Nigeria wants to say, Buhari issued ultimatum and asked the South African diplomat to leave immediately. And the Nigerians were strict. They started vandalizing South African installations and then even the embassy. And the more Nigeria for attacking. Ghana was not. We've been quiet. We've not been part. How can you fight with one Ghanaian over your girlfriend? How can a South African girl go to a Ghanaian saloon and claim say, why did their party 3 days akosa about if they don't give them, that is what calls for the boys to come to vandalize and kill them. It's senseless. Look, South Africa, you don't know what?
Radio
on the continent of Africa, South Africa and Ethiopia, they have the worst residential visa reforms and I said visa status for foreigners. Very discriminative. And then very apartheid now, the same apartheid now, racial segregation visa protocols. For South Africa, resident permit. This is the country in Africa or more than 20 types, 20 different kind of resident permits. The idea should shine. The idea woman chancing. The idea hairdressing. The idea way. The idea skilled labor. The idea unskilled labor. The idea marriage. The idea your friend is saying civil relations. Different, and all of them so expensive, and they make you look like just the same way the apartheid the whites treated them. It is a way of South African. We are Ghanaian, our South Africa. And here comes the African Union, your right of stay, and your right of work, and your right of residence. Ghana didn't call South Africa, not for Sika today, so it could be a business for her. They look declare, big voter, the ANC, Papa, ever since the Mandela left the scene, I've said that you couldn't have done any development because of the tiredness and the fatigue. And because of the system, the institutions, that's what fix it.
And in a protest, no cost no, and Siena, South Africa for our, Winnie, and Abwa Pio.
And I'm sure that whenever they are confronted, the government of ANC says Thabo Mbeki, Jacob Zuma, Cyril Ramaphosa, who have been also used Ghana passport before. When they are confronted by the youth, because a human home you can say you are confront, and home you can say you lazy. A Germany in Mozambique, a Germany in Namibia, a Germany in Congolese, a Germany in Nigerian, a Germany in Ghanaian, a minor jobber, a labor, because they will not do it. Because the Ghanaian will go and hire a room and rent a room, apartment, and living as an apartment. South Africans are living in ghetto, in Soweto. Okay. It is then the government now tells them that it is not the government that is not creating the jobs, but more jobs, South Africa, Brunei, or companies, job. Fair Juma, South Africa, okay.
Okay.
It's better Nigerian, better Congolese, better Ghanaian in Zimbabwe, better South Africa, Sada. How many Sadak nations ECOWAS? It's in Zambia, Juma.